Well, Congress, meanwhile, is expected to vote to formalize the impeachment inquiry into President Biden, and Democrats may be trying to get some Republicans to turn on their own leadership. Sources telling Fox News that House Oversight Ranking Member Jamie Raskin has been quietly meeting with a few Republican lawmakers in an effort to quash the impeachment inquiry. With us now is Congressman Russell Finch. He serves on the Oversight and the Judiciary Committees. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So does Jamie Raskin actually hold any sway with any Republicans?
Well, I would certainly hope not. I mean, Jamie Raskin's story has evolved about as much as the Biden families throughout this whole saga. And so, I mean, he's been kind of the chief defense counsel for the Biden family. And so I would hope that any good Republican would look at this and look at the shell game that is going on and go, this doesn't add up. We need to do this impeachment inquiry. The Biden family has basically ceased cooperating with the committees. And so this is the next step that we need to do.
Well, we have heard that there is at least one Republican who's kind of out there about his disdain for the impeachment process, and that's Ken Buck. He's also been kind of moderate on some other issues as well. So how many can you afford? How many Republicans can you afford to lose if you're voting for impeachment?
Well, if everyone was there attendance-wise, I think 3 to 4, something like that. I do know that there was another member, Don Bacon, who was skeptical about the impeachment inquiry itself, but based on the family, the Biden family, not cooperating with this investigation, he has flipped from no, originally maybe months ago, to yes.
So what would the charges be in an impeachment?
Well, that remains to be seen. I mean, again, this is follow the facts, make sure that you have all the information. You know, we have Hunter Biden slated to come testify this week in a closed-door interview, and so there's a lot left to uncover, but chief among those on the top of my head is what actions were taken on the world stage under the color of U.S. authority and law, and how are those impacted by your family's engagement with overseas companies?
Well, you know, clearly he lied about certain things to the public. He lied about his son's involvement in various things in China, et cetera. He lied about whether he knew people that his son was involved in business with when he was on the phone with these people, et cetera. But what of that would be legal, a bribery charge? I mean, is it bribery where you're going in terms of an impeachment charge?
Well, I think if impeachment is going to be the recommendation of the Judiciary Committee, the one that stands out the most is the potential for bribery, particularly with Ukraine, where you have a prosecutor that was fired. You have Hunter Biden traveling with his father, who made a call to his father from Dubai. We know that these things happen because people have testified to that effect. We have heard from the whistleblowers about all the things that are going on, and Joe Biden's involvement is very clear. I mean, they went from saying he's never been involved, he was completely walled off, he didn't know about it, to now we show direct payments to Joe Biden himself. And so this keeps getting clearer and clearer as the evidence mounts up against this family.
Well, what is absolutely clear is that this was influence peddling on a massive scale. The whole family was involved in influence peddling, according to records. And the president knew that when his son was traveling with him, what he was going to be doing, or at least that he would be in these meetings with various business enterprises, whether they were in Ukraine or China, right?
Correct. And even here in the States, I mean, there were meetings with Russian oligarchs, and then the next day, $3.5 million comes into Joe Biden's bank account based on that meeting. And meanwhile, when we leveled sanctions against Russian oligarchs and Russian personnel and the government, this oligarch was conveniently left off. And so there's a lot of questions still that are out there. But what was very clear to me at this point is that this family engaged in a pattern of conduct beneath the office of the president and vice president that allowed transactions to occur and for things to be done on the official side of government. Yeah. That's not who we are, and we need to hold this administration to account.
Do you have final question, Congressman? Forgive me for rushing, but do you have more evidence of a potential bribery charge that we haven't yet seen that you will be presenting in the coming debate?
No, I think what's important is that we get these individuals who are close to the transactions. What services did you provide? What were you promised? What was Joe Biden's involvement in all of this? I think that is part and parcel to this. That's why we want Hunter Biden to come and testify. That's why we want all these Biden associates to come in for a deposition and answer these questions.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to talk more about Hunter Biden. We don't have time, but clearly the indictment against him is kind of intriguing because it's not too much interested in how the money was spent or where it came. It's more interested in how it was spent than where the money actually came from and whether his father actually knew about it. And that's the evidence that we will wait and see whether you present it all to the public. We thank you very much for coming in, Congressman. Appreciate it.